Last week, the media went awash with an incident in which the MP for Gangaise East, Onesmus Namasko, said it was okay for husbands to be their wives, as he put it, displaying them. This sparked off a flurry of criticism directed at the legislature, questioning how in this day and age one would think that is okay. But according to a 2016 Uganda demographic and health survey, half of women sampled and 41% of men agree that a husband is justified in beating his wife for at least one of the following reasons: burning the food, arguing with him, and going out without telling him.
26% reported that if she's justified to be beaten if she refuses, if she argues with him. For us, those who go out without telling their partners, 30% of the women reported that a woman is justified to be beaten by the husband. So we note that the percentages, surprisingly, are higher for women compared to those of what? To those of the men.
According to the survey, 22% of women and 8% of men have experienced sexual violence within the past year. For example, 13% of women have experienced sexual violence compared to 4% of men. Divorced, separated, widowed women, that is 36%, and 18% of men are most at risk.
We note that half of both men and women have ever experienced physical violence since the age of what? Since the age of 15. In the past year, 22% of the women and 20% of the men have experienced physical violence.
The official notes that 56% of ever married women and 44% of ever married men have experienced spousal violence, and within the past year, 39% of both ever married women and men reported having experienced recent spousal violence. Incidence is higher within the Ankole region with 73% and Bukedi with 72%.
Then also we have spousal violence. We understand, members, that there are so many perpetuators of violence, but here we are looking at the gender-based violence. We are looking at the spousal violence, the men, when you are in union. We know that there are other forms of violence, but here we are focusing on this. And among those who have ever experienced the spousal violence, we give the categories of emotional violence, physical violence, sexual violence, physical or sexual violence. Then we have those results. 41% of the women and 36% of the men had declared that they had experienced violence committed by their spouse or partner.
1/3 of women and 30% of men who have experienced physical or sexual violence sought help to stop the violence. Women went mostly to their own families or husbands' families, while the men opted mostly for police or their own extended family. Now, Kara Fiona, African News.